What's up, guys? Thursday live. This time at 8:30. It's a bit of a different one, and it's a very special one because today we're going to be talking about how these past few years there's been a real downhill trend with the morality and strength of America. So we're gonna get into this here. So thanks for being here, Zach.
Hey, my pleasure.
So, just walk me through what you've seen happening these past few years, with like the damage that's been going on all across the country.
It's all over the place. I don't think when you say damage, there's so many different things to talk about. You could go very simply just. I mean, I'm a teacher, so looking at my students' grades, their attitudes, what they see for their future. It's some of them are great, but for a lot of other kids, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so they look at the politics and such, and they see just adults yelling and screaming. I have a number of kids that they go home and it's the same thing, and
Right.
they're just down about it. So they cling to whatever sort of power whoever's feeding them. I have where I'm at right now here in the Upper Peninsula. I'm actually in an area where it's dominantly Republican, and a lot of
Okay.
kids really like Trump. But back at home, it was dominantly Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, the Democrats. And so they're clinging to whoever is going to give them the attention they want.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, that's what really scares me is the student situation going on, especially with what you see at all these school board meetings, where they're labeling parents who want to know what's going on with their kids' education as domestic terrorists.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, it's. I just heard about that about 2 or 3 days ago, and did a little bit of looking into. Not too much. I've been too busy working, but I did get enough to gather that he's basically being framed, and it's sad. It's
right,
so sad, but the wrong people have control at this point, to
right.
a certain extent, and people are starting to try and fight it. They realized it. They're trying to fight, but it's hard because uh, you don't want to lose your kids
Hmm.
because that's what he's facing right now. But if we all don't get together and start to fight this, we're all going to be in the same boat, possibly. I
That's
hope
it.
not. I
Right.
hope not. But it's with the way it's looking and just how we've got from uh, basically to this situation. I mean, it used to be 10, 15 years ago. If your kid did something bad, he got a detention, and the parents were upset about it,
Hmm.
and they would say, "Hey, you need to behave yourself in class." Well, now a kid can go into the bathroom just because he says he's the opposite gender, attack a person, and he doesn't even get a slap on the wrist.
That's right. Right. And the parent that comes out and defends the daughter is the one getting punished.
Yeah, isn't that ridiculous? And I thought, it's as soon as that happened, I'm like, I thought the message in the beginning was to defend women, which
Right,
to an extent is a great message,
right,
and
right.
it's actually an older message than people realize. I'm going into the Middle Ages soon with my students, and that message goes back to the Middle Ages that women should be defended. Um, and of course, nowadays they say it's women are not weaker and such. And well, we won't get into that too much, but
Hmm.
that's a good message, regardless. And men should be defended as well. And that's what he's doing. But that gets trumped now because the student says he's transgender,
Right.
is what I'm saying. And that's just, it's, that shouldn't be trumped. It shouldn't be because a student's physical safety is much more important than your feelings.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So basically, like you're a teacher, so kind of give me an insider's perspective on this whole school board meeting situation. Like, is it only happening in a very specific area, or are you seeing it just in your local community?
I'm not seeing too much of that stuff in my local community.
Okay.
My school right now is they're more having some issues with dress code, which that's been going on for at least a decade or two.
Hmm.
So they that's their thing. We don't really have too much of that, and most schools don't usually have those issues. A lot of them do have unisex bathrooms and such, so they don't have those issues too much. They've worked around it very well. But as for it just going around, I'm seeing issues like this all across the country.
That's right.
Thankfully, they are relatively small, but they are happening across the country. And for the most part, we're seeing it in or near major cities. I
Right.
believe Chicago, if I remember off the top of my head, Chicago is having some issues with that. But it
Yeah.
is definitely the major cities.
Well, it is, and like the major cities with police officer loss as well. I mean, Portland and Chicago and Baltimore are already bad off as it is.
Yeah,
And if the people in charge cared about like keeping all the cities safe that needed the most protection, um, the this mandate and everything wouldn't be getting in the way. They wouldn't let that get in the way of like police officers.
hmm
So I honestly don't really think they want the cities to be safe.
Well, no, because it gives them power.
Hmm.
It really does. And I know that's starts to go down maybe, some people might label it a conspiracy theory. I could definitely maybe see the argument for it. But if you think about it, when you get rid of police officers and such, you basically give people that support you the ability to go, hey, follow us, do as we say, or we're going to attack you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the attacker did with the Stevenson case. Is he had took the girl into the bathroom, but before her, there was another incident where he actually took another girl and forced her into a classroom and held her against her will
Right.
and
Yeah.
said, "Do as I say, or you won't get out."
Yeah. He's a repeat offender. I heard about that. Jeremy says not everyone is a criminal. He's absolutely right, and
Absolutely.
unfortunately, the roles are definitely reversed under this government. Like as like as this new law proposes, people are allowed to get out of prison 20 minutes after they committed something, right?
Yep. Yep. It's just sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad, and I I I think and I try and figure out why. Why
Right.
are they? Why, I mean, I understand the control part, but why do you even want that control? Why do you want that for your country or your other people? Could you be that selfish? I mean, maybe there's something I am missing. I'm open to that argument, but right now I just don't see it.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think we need to look back on what we think is like what is proven to work, like what is proven to a country to be successful, and that's capitalism. Um, and we are clearly falling off that path right now. We are definitely headed towards socialism. I would say we already are in socialism. And when that happens, we lose freedoms. And with this vaccine mandate and with the flip flop of how they're supposed to treat criminals, and with people losing their jobs and immigrants taking the place, yeah, we're losing our freedoms.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of the mass mandates. I mean, that's actually going to affect um, the people that they're supposedly helping out more. And by they, I mean the
Right,
Democrats. I mean, only about, I think it was 43% or either 43 or 47. I don't remember exactly which one of African Americans had at least their first COVID shot.
right.
So you're going to hurt them way more than anybody else that got the shot. I mean, the vast majority of people are of Caucasian descent. So that's not going to hurt them as much as it is African Americans. So you're kind of alienating your base,
Yeah.
which is rather ironic
Yeah,
and just sad.
it's very clear that these mandates are not about health, the health of the citizens.
Hmm.
I think anyone who believes that is completely brainwashed, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And then a recent study just came out today that I saw in the news from different sources. So I know it ain't no BS crap.
Right.
It showed us and it's proven that uh, unvaccinated children, and I don't remember the age, but it just said children, so let's go with that and take it what you will with a grain of salt. They're safer and less likely to experience, hospitalization or at least the side
Right.
effects of COVID than fully vaccinated adults at age 30 or 40 years old.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact age for the adult either, but their immune systems are better. They're growing. They're being exposed to different stuff, and their immune systems are learning about it, and they're getting used to it, and it makes sense. And this has been used in the arguments since day one for
Mhm.
COVID from the more Republican side of the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what's that?
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, it's just, I mean, the reality, and I'm gonna be a teacher, like mainly focused on history. So I know that the average empire lasts around 250 years. But once it gets at 250 years, things go down very quickly. And right now, the U.S. is 244 years old, or sorry, 245, and I'm thinking we're around that point. Would you say that's an accurate assumption?
It's definitely possible. It's too early to tell. And the
Okay.
reason I believe and say that is because there is a ton of people in the United States that have the ideals of we want capitalism or
Mhm.
something similar to it. We have rights, we want our freedoms, and we are willing to fight for them.
Yes.
There is millions upon millions. And if you look at the political differences and you look at the maps, the vast majority of those types of people are going to vote Republican, so you just got to go with that. They're all concentrated in the center of the United States. The
Right.
vast majority of the Democrat voting population,
Is on the
besides major cities, it's either in California or New York
right.
and along the East Coast. So if it's going to happen, if they try and do too much more, we're at the very least, if our country goes down, it's going to go down in another civil war, I think.
Oh
And
yeah.
again, I could be wrong. There are so many factors. Now, history doesn't have one factor. That's the most common thing that people get wrong is, oh, the Civil War was started over slavery. Well, that was the dominant thing, but there is other stuff too that you
Yeah.
have to address. It's not just one thing. It's always a combination. That's why Rome fell.
Yeah.
That's why Greek states eventually fell from power. Same thing with the Byzantine Empire. All those. So
Mhm.
it's possible. We'll just have to wait and see. But nobody's going to go down without a fight.
Right. That's right. And I always have said that America has been for a long time the greatest country in the world, and I think just recently we've lost that title. But we've been great for so long. It's hard to imagine us not recovering somehow. Um, but I guess that's just the world that I grew up in. And the older folks who have been around might have a different take on this. But Zach, what do you think we should do to fight back against this insanity?
It's a hard one
Hmm.
because we definitely need to start fighting as hard as we can now.
Hmm.
Start saying no. Um, but the thing is, if we continue to fight, if we do fight, we risk getting ourselves thrown in jail and such. We risk losing a lot of things. Um, to say I think it just depends on the person. I think it depends on their circumstances. For me, being fairly young, I'm going to fight and I'm going to give them crap
Mm-hmm.
because right now I know there's a lot of other people, a lot of other areas that will support me in that fight. So I can, if something goes wrong, I can use to say, well, you know what? If you're going to treat me like this, I'm out and I can move somewhere else.
Right.
So I definitely, I guess, in a perfect world, well, a perfect world wouldn't happen, but at this moment, I'd say people need to fight. People need to say, you know what? This is what it is. I believe this is right. I believe this is wrong. And don't be too disrespectful about it, but try your best not to be a pushover about it either.
Right. Yeah. Sarah, she's a good friend of mine. She says, that's crazy. You could go to jail for standing up for your human rights and for others. That is crazy, and you're very lucky you're in Canada. That's all I'm going to say. Because it's happening.
Oh, I'm not in Canada, but it's right next door.
Right. Yeah. Um, and, like, I'm not joking about this. I might go to, like, Switzerland or Wales for my teaching. Because I just can't be in the U.S. while this is going down, in my opinion.
And actually, that's not too bad of a place. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, Canada." Well, Canada is not too far behind us. So
Right.
Hey,
Canada
I'm
is
here, guys.
going on.
What's up, Jeremy?
Uh,
So
Jeremy,
Canada is not too far behind. I'm sorry, dude. I just cut you off. Go for it.
yeah, one. Please meet you there.
yep.
Yep, I'm another
Zach is a
YouTube
good friend of,
vlogger here.
yeah. Be sure to check out Jeremy's ARC vlogs on YouTube, Jack. Or Zach.
Sure thing. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Cause guess
Um,
what? To
so,
elaborate,
me,
to elaborate on the whole policing issue.
yes.
As for policing, oh, so we're jumping ship. Okay. What do you want to know about the policing issue? What policing issue are you speaking of?
Sometimes a police officer would just arrest a person just walking down the street or walking on the sidewalk.
Right.
Do you have an
Look,
example of that? Any specific one?
Like for one, okay, this happened in 2017. I was playing Pokemon Go late at night. I was walking, and an officer draws his gun on me. Basically, I was just not doing anything.
Interesting.
I mean, that's all I was doing. I was playing Pokemon Go.
Hmm. The only, from what it sounds at the moment, that's just a horrible case of a
right.
misjudgment on the officer's part. Uh, Possibly a racial thing, but the thing is, we don't really know what's going on in his head, so I kind of have to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I would do a reverse if the races were reversed. The only thing that will come to mind is there has been a few cases similar to this, and what people don't understand is that those officers a lot of times do not show up on scene, especially for Pokemon Go, because there's been cases like this. For Pokemon Go, people call in. So you might have been walking by with your phone out or something, and somebody calls 911, says, "Hey, this person looks suspicious.
Right.
Can you check him out?"
But
And
most
those
but
such
most of the time, the reason why they do it is because the person's skin color.
it's possible, but I don't have the evidence or statistics that back that up. I just don't. Is it possible? Yeah, absolutely. But as for that situation, it could be possibly somebody called in and said, "I don't know what he's got in his hand, but he looks suspicious." When they cannot identify the object, the officer, by his training, no matter what his race is, has to go into the situation assuming that it's a weapon. There's actually a great video
How
I
is
saw.
a phone a weapon?
I know, and I agree with you. I don't understand that. But the thing is, when people give in a call from 911 at a distance and they cannot identify the object, the officer is trained to assume that it's some sort of weapon. There is a great video that just came out on was a police activity. It's a site that I follow on YouTube. So on police activity, they just released a video where this guy got out of his car, reached into his pocket, and pretended to like pull out something out of his pocket. He did this twice, and the officers shot him because they were not sure that he was going to pull out a gun or not. Now, another great case is the Trayvon Martin case. And in the Trayvon Martin case, I'm sorry. Tamir Rice, that was it. Tamir Rice is a 13 or 14-year-old who was playing with an airsoft gun with his friends. And they had scraped the paint, the orange paint off the airsoft guns. The officer saw it. He turned with the airsoft gun in his hand to face the officers, and the officer shot him. Now, some people go, oh my gosh, how could they shoot him with a toy gun? Well, the officer was about 30 plus yards away, and those airsoft guns are very realistic looking. I have one.
Ooh. Yeah, those hurt. Trust me, those hurt.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that your situation may not have been a racial case. It might have been, but there is other possibilities, such as somebody gave in a call. My uncle, there's a Pokemon stop out of the backyard of my uncle's home, because his home backs up to a park. And unfortunately, that park has a lot of people that go up there with their phones and they shoot up drugs. So that's a very dangerous situation for an officer to turn up in. So maybe the area you were in is known for drugs. I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't see or witness it. So this just is me throwing out other ideas. But regardless of what happened, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Yeah,
And
But check this
I
out.
hope
Yeah.
that if you need help with that, or that's something that affected you, I really hope you go talk to somebody about that, because that really sucks.
Sorry about that.
Situation. Yeah, no, you're good. Now that situation, I feel bad for you, man. I'm sorry that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I got some good news, you guys.
What's up?
Okay, I might start a series. I might start a series next month, except it's going to be called Bringing Yu-Gi-Oh to Autism. Okay, you're thinking in your head, Jeremy, where'd you get this idea from? And then I was thinking in my head, well, we had a bunch of autistic people come from Houston down to Beaumont just to play Yu-Gi-Oh. Then we had some.
Jeremy, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're right now we're talking about like how we can fix this country. You know what I'm saying? So I mean I'd like to stay focused on that, if you know what I mean. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. I hate to do that. But what, Jeremy? What, like, basically, what are your thoughts on everything that's going on from
Someone's got some
vaccine?
bad internet.
Can you hear me? Okay.
What?
All right.
Dude, someone's internet's tripping.
Maybe it's mine and the government's trying to censor this.
No, how crazy would that be?
Not that crazy.
not too far crazy, but that would be rather interesting.
Yeah.
It's already been flagged, and we're only, what is it, 24 minutes? It took us 24 minutes to get flagged. It's got to be a record.
Wait, it's been flagged?
I'm just saying that would be really funny if it was.
Oh, okay.
Got flagged in 24 minutes.
Well, yeah, no, it's interesting because like the people on the right side, like on the right, Republicans, they're calling to basically like split the country up, but the Democrats who say that they're against division, but in my opinion, they activate that more than Republicans. They're the ones finally saying that no.
Most of the time it's on both sides. Because we can't just blame it on the Democrats. Some of it's Republican too.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
The Republicans, I would argue, are probably the worst when it comes to sending money to just random agencies and overseas.
Right. Yeah. But basically, I think it's clear that both of us can't stand the other. I mean, the question is like, should we all just like agree to disagree and just stop arguing about this? Basically,
Okay. That just goes back to what I was saying on Instagram one time before. Because, see, the thing is, we got to stop. See, when it comes to people like us, like people with autism or whatever, maybe societies just needs to stop mixing us in politics. Because
right? That's right.
everybody knows an autistic person does not like politics. You freaking hate it.
Well,
Well, you
that's
know,
most people in general. They do not like politics for the most part, especially nowadays because it's so polarizing.
right?
And to kind of
Hyper
go off, I'm sorry, let's go for it.
Yeah, hyper partisanship is really going on in this country. And what I've started to notice is basically people have had enough of it when it comes to political parties. They're basically like, okay, the left is way too far left, the right is way too far right. You know what? I'm going to stay out of it and mind my own business. And that's what I'm doing, basically.
And the interesting
That's what I
part
try to
is,
do.
yeah, it's the interesting thing is even though the left has moved very far left, the right has actually moved a little bit, and I actually wouldn't say it moved farther right. If anything, it's moved a little bit more towards the left because they used to be very much no gay rights, no this and that, no gay marriage,
Right.
and they now have moved more towards we don't care. And it's interesting. I think more people are actually libertarian than they truly realize.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people would be. I would actually be, and I think in order to prove this, we would have to try something along the lines of the Australian ranking system. So instead of casting your vote and voting for one person, you get all the electors or all the people you're going for. So going back to the previous election, you have Joe Biden, Trump, and then George Jorgensen. So what I think, if you had a ranking system, you could say, okay, I want Joe Jorgensen as my top dog. I
Right.
want her number one. Now, with the ranking system in Australia, whoever is in last, they take all the votes from the people who voted for that person who's in last. They then move it to their second vote. So if you voted for Joe Jorgensen, but Joe Jorgensen was on last place, they'll move you to your second vote.
Hmm.
And basically what that is no matter what happens, your vote is going to get cast. So your word, you're going to be heard. So instead of it being a lost vote like it is in our country, it would be moved to the next best thing.
Gotcha.
So if people have that safety net, we just lost him.
Hey,
Oh,
video.
no. He did a disappearing act. He pulled a Edward Snowden. How can we make a nickname out of that? Alex Snowden, welcome back. Oh, we're getting flagged for that one.
Yep.
So, oh gosh, that was too funny.
All right. What did I miss in those 10 seconds?
I don't know. We started the joke and I lost my train of thought. That's an ADHD moment right there.
Good joke. I'm fine with that. Losing the train of thought.
Oh, it's the Australian ranking system. So let's say that I were to vote for Joe Jorgensen as my first rank and then Joe Biden as my second rank, Trump as my third. So if George Jorgensen doesn't get my vote and she's last place, now Biden gets my vote.
Okay.
So what that's going to allow people to do is go, well, even though I don't think Jorgensen's going to win, I'll put her as my first rank. That way I know if she loses, my vote will then be cast for the next person I want, which would be, Joe Biden or Donald Trump. If that were to happen, I strongly think within the next 2 or 3 presidencies, we would see libertarians come into power. Because a lot of people align with their beliefs. Because it's one of the things that really divides parties, both Democrats and Republicans. It just divides them. Is the weed issue. A lot of Republicans like, go out and smoke weed, whatever. And a lot of them don't like that. They want it to be illegal still. And the same thing with Democrats. The two sides cannot get along with their own groups.
Right.
So what the libertarian view is, let the market decide. Make it legal, let people smoke it, but if companies don't want to hire people that smoke weed, they don't have to hire them.
Right.
And that's kind of the way we've taken right now is a lot of, I know for Menards, I used to work there, was drug tests and such. When as a teacher, they do that. So we kind of have that right now. And it's working fairly decently. We haven't had too much of a spike. I mean, granted, the pot stores are making money, don't get me wrong, but if we use them effectively, they can be an asset. So I think a lot more people want that approach. And the same thing is, with capitalism and different policies. Basically, they just say, let the people decide, let the market decide. The government needs to stay out. And that's a very common theme for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gets to the bigger point that I truly believe is that people keep losing the sight that we all want the same outcome per se.
Yes, we do.
So, for the most part. So, I wish that even if you're in a lower class, that I would wish that there's no more poverty. I would wish everyone had a nice home to live in.
Of course.
They didn't have to worry about the neighbor down the street. I want everyone to have a decent life. We all agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
Both Democrats, Republicans, everyone agrees on that.
Yeah.
We just have a different way or a different idea on how to
Kayla.
achieve that.
Yes. Hey,
so,
Kayla. And I will also say this. We want America to be the greatest country in the world. We
exactly.
just isn't getting there. So your thought is libertarianism. Is that what you're saying?
Some sort of. Well, I think they're going to be the next upcoming party if we make some changes or people get fed up enough.
Well, I'll add my own thoughts into this. I think we definitely need to have a more centered party, and we need to have it a mainstream party, because Democrats and Republicans, during the past two presidencies, they haven't worked. Jeremy agrees with me, and so we need a third or fourth or fifth mainstream party, where maybe they can win a couple states, and in my personal opinion, like, I'm Republican on some issues and I'm Democrat on some issues. And it's about half and half. So I consider myself an independent. And I've actually voted for Johnson.
That's all I am is independent.
Right.
Yes, same here. And it's interesting. George Washington, in his final farewell, he warned us.
He would be brave right now.
Yep. The thing is, though, people don't realize that with the two-party system, people like things to be easy and simple.
Yes.
With the two-party system, that gives in. So in order for us to erase this two-party system, we have to fight both sides. So we have to denounce Democrats, we have to denounce Republicans.
Yes.
The problem with that is that if, let's say, we denounce the Republican, well, how do you denounce the Republican? You go Democrat, because that's who's in power. If you want to denounce the Democrats, you do the same thing. You go to the Republican side. So it's, unfortunately, the culture that we have made.
To denounce them both, become
Yeah,
independent.
we have to. Exactly, you have to denounce them both. But people are not willing to do that.
I'm absolutely willing to do that.
Because it's too hard for them.
Right.
It's very hard to do.
Well, yeah, and they're stuck to their own ideas. Like, both sides, a lot of them have been hearing the same stuff their entire lives, and they believe that to the core. So when they're asked to denounce that, they're basically like asking to denounce their religion, and that's why so little people are willing to do that. But for someone who does hate politics, I'm all for that.
Yeah, just don't get judged by Christians just because you play a game that you like, but they think it's demonized.
Can you hear us okay, Zach?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just listening in, kind of taking in the thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And by the way, we're all Christians here, all three of us. So we know that the final battle has already been won. But we also would like to see Christ's kingdom on earth as much as possible, right?
yeah, that's what I think. It depends. There's different views on what that is too. I've talked with some people where it's Jesus will come down and he will rule over all physically. Some think it's more spiritually up in heaven. Some think it's a combination of the two.
I think it's
And it's also, how do we get there? What does that look like? Um, it's, do we let people do what we think is sinful or not? I mean, that's where one of the things and that's one of the things that the Republican side has been really interesting to watch. Um, it used to be they're against it. Why are they against gay marriage? Well, it's because it's against the law of God. It's completely against what he wants. But this idea of separation between church and state has influenced the Republican side more. And they've kind of realized, maybe we should just let them be because God is the final judge. And
yeah.
that the government is more or less just to keep things in order and allow people to do as they do. Because the thing is, God's ultimate message to us and his gift is freedom of will. If we are making stuff illegal and not allowing people to be who they are or do what they want, whichever way you want to put it,
Mhm.
are we not denying them the gift that God has given us all? And that's a really hard question to answer, and I'm not sure I personally have the answer. I don't know which one it is.
I I think that's fair. Yeah. I think yeah, that is a tough one. Yeah, I do. Geez, that is tough. I think we should all have free will. I really do. I mean, we do all have free will, but I think we need to recognize that in that community.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that either. Maybe it's a decision, or maybe they feel that way. I mean, the debate's still on as to whether or not being gay is natural or not. They really truly have not proven the reasons and such for that. But I, I'm okay with letting people be. I just say let them do as they please, because
Hey, Barb.
How are you,
but if
Brown?
they, hello there. I think if we support, or
Yes.
if I try and make it legal and whatnot, I do kind of think that's taking a step back. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of and I guess indecisive would be the best word, but it's just whatever the government decides is what they decide on that issue for me. I kind of feel less either which way.
100%. How are you, Miss Brown?
Good to see you, Alex. Sorry
Yes,
I'm
good to
late.
see you.
I was helping at the parish.
Hey, it's all good. We got to put in that volunteer work. Definitely.
So what's your topic?
So our topic, and it says it in the title, America's integrity is in a downward spiral. What can we do to fix it?
That's a good topic. Does anybody have an
Yeah.
answer?
Yeah, we've been going over that.
Different answers. It's a combination of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Another good thing we could throw in is schools need to start stepping up and holding kids accountable. None of this wishy-washy stuff. If they come in and tell a teacher to F off, detention, and
Yep.
talk with the parents. That's
Yep.
I'm seeing that across the board. I've had the pleasure of talking with so many different teachers of so many different areas, rich and poor schools alike, and it's going downhill pretty quickly, unfortunately.
I would agree with you on that,
Yeah.
Zach. It's
Yeah.
being an educator.
So you.
Go ahead, Alex.
So yeah, Miss Brown, I was actually curious about your perspective on that because we've seen all the chaos
Yeah,
going on with the school board meetings and how
right. Well, I think schools need to be
parents who
accountable
want
for
to know
what
what
they
their
were
kids are being
created for.
are domestic terrorists now.
Right. I mean, they need to be accountable for what they're
Absolutely.
created
Yeah.
for, which was to educate students. Instead, they become everything else in addition, you know, and
Well,
that's
they
the problem.
that's I mean, like I agree with them. There's some very
I'm about to get off here, you guys. Catch y'all next time.
Jeremy.
Thanks for
Bye,
featuring
Jeremy.
me.
Thanks for being on,
Hi,
man.
Jeremy.
Bye.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And there's three teachers right here. I mean, I'm a future teacher. But I mean, it's really not hard to just like stick to the curriculum. That's all I'm gonna do. Like, I'm not gonna force any of these leftist or rightist ideas on my kids. I'm gonna teach from a completely neutral perspective, and provide really good general life lessons along the way that positively benefit both parties. And Miss Brown, me and Zach were talking about this. We strongly support a third party or a fourth or a fifth that's like mainstream, that's also more centered, that basically can end this hyperpartisanship, and get America in a more centered and capitalist way of thinking, which has worked perfectly for 240 years.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Whatever happened to capitalism? Why did it become a dirty word?
It's gone.
It's dying right now. I mean, we're obviously becoming a socialist country, and I think we already are. And the question is, how do we fix that? And that's what we're talking about.
That's okay. Whoops. That's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I accidentally did the deadbolt. I'm on a Zoom, so yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. You know, the other thing I was going to add on that whole thing about the education is, we really need to stop revisionist history, you know, and you know, we have history. Why are we rewriting it?
That's right.
You know, along party lines.
That's a way to control.
People have warned us about this. Like, everything that's happened in other empires' collapses is happening right now. And to know better than this. I mean, us American citizens know better than this, like civilians. Why don't the people in charge of our country aren't aware of this? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's an excellent book out now called Get Out Now, and it's about what's happening in the public schools. That's just some of the stuff that's just pretty atrocious.
I heard something about that book. I saw it.
Yeah.
I was just reading through some threads and some articles online because I'm figuring out different ways to help control classroom behavior and all that. And they say build relationships, and you can do that as much as you want, but there's some students they don't want to.
No,
and
you're right.
It's really sad because you want to so bad deep inside your heart. You want to touch every single one of them, but some of them just don't want it.
Yeah. And they're coming out of, some of them are coming out of just horrific situations at home, you know, where in some cases there's been no discipline. And I have a niece who has a student, she's a teacher, and she has a student that just runs out of the building all the time at school. You know, just when he gets tired of class, he just takes off running, runs out of the building.
I believe I might have one or two students that does the same thing.
But now, Zach, where are you teaching right now?
Yep. I'm in the Upper Peninsula.
Oh, great.
Yep. I'm out in the, and I love it up here so far. Beautiful weather. Take your guys' weather, -5 degrees. And when you get rain, chances are I had it about 2 days ago.
Oh, yeah. Are you anywhere near Marquette?
No, I am southwest of Escanaba.
Oh, Escanaba, yeah.
Yep,
I love the UP.
yeah, it's wonderful. I got Green Bay about an hour and a half away from me,
Yeah,
and then Escanaba is like a 2-hour drive, something like that.
yeah. Were you from the UP?
No, I'm
Uh,
from Livonia, Michigan, near Detroit.
oh, yeah. But you just took a job up there.
Yeah, yep. It was a little pipe dream of mine as a little boy to come and live in the Upper Peninsula because my grandparents had a place in Pickford
Oh,
near
that's
Sault
so
Ste.
neat.
Marie. So it's
That
like,
is
hey,
so neat. So you like the outdoors.
yes,
Oh, that's
yes.
wonderful.
You get
It's
to
a
go
great place
fishing.
to be if you like the outdoors.
Yes, it is.
So
It's
what grade are you
wonderful.
teaching, Zach?
Ninth grade, and then I got one class that's a seventh, eighth grade mix, and we do current
Uh-huh.
events.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we
And
Wow,
just
I,
talk
that's
I,
about all
great.
sorts of stuff.
That's
you
so
two would
neat.
get very well, and you two have been tremendous mentors for me, and me being able to get into this situation. I'm very undeserving of it. I really am.
Wow.
Just want you
You're
both while
very
I had the chance.
deserving of it, Alex. You're a great guy and you have a great heart and a great
Yeah,
capacity for
me
caring
And I
about
second
people.
that.
and me and Zach were actually co-workers at YMCA last year,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
yeah, and we had a lot of time to get into some really deep talks, and
Uh-huh.
We did.
he,
Hey, there's a YMCA up here, man. Make the move.
all
Yeah, there
right,
you go. Yeah, who
he
knows where your
he,
first teaching job might be, Alex?
They need people, man,
I,
especially up here. It's a
but,
Yeah,
little bit
but
rough,
yeah,
but
you
there's some good kids up here.
yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's cool. I think that's great. Is this your
But
first year, Zach, teaching?
Yes,
he
I've subbed for the past two and a
he
half
helped.
years. Alex
Hmm.
is zipping out. Go ahead, Alex. You take it.
Alex, you're frozen. No.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Zach was able to help me get through some dark moments this summer.
Yeah, that's great.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're
Now
just
I
coming in
can.
and out a little bit.
Hello.
Yeah, you're kind of in and out, Zach or Alex. So, does your family all still live in Livonia, Zach?
Yep. I'm
Oh,
500 miles away from
you
everybody.
hear me? Okay.
Oh my heavens.
I do have a great aunt and uncle that are
Yeah.
just
So
outside
actually,
Gaylord.
Oh, good.
can you hear me?
Now we can. You
Now
freeze
we
every
can.
once in a while, Alex.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? I'm telling you, the
Yes.
government censored me with this. Um. So obviously, like being on the spectrum and controlling a lot of kids, it can be very difficult at times. And I unfortunately did have a couple of meltdowns over the summer, and Zach was able to help me through it. Like,
That's
and we were
wonderful.
able to have those good talks and like get me back on track and have a smile on my face. And I hope I can. I hope I can have someone to help me out like that when I get into the education system.
That's great.
Because obviously, like that meltdown does get in the way of my job a little bit.
Mhm.
So I need a lot of support with that, and
Right.
Zach is the man with helping me out with that stuff.
Yeah. That's what a
Yeah,
great friend you have in that.
that's
But
right.
I think part of it too, Alex, is your willingness to be open,
Right.
and letting
Yeah.
Zach understand your situation,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a big part of it. You know, we we all
Zach,
have to lean on comics.
Would
Yeah.
you say me disclosing my condition helped a lot with having these conversations?
Yeah, when you're open with other folks that are willing to help you and such, it definitely does help. Big
Hmm.
deal.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right. So I'll give you each 30 seconds. What do you see with the future of this country if you fight for the integrity? Go ahead, Zach.
Oh, see, 30 seconds. The country can go either way. People need to start fighting for what they believe is right. and you need to start to see common sense. At the moment, I still say it can go either way. But if it keeps going the way that it's going, we're going to have possibly a civil war on our hands. Whether or not it's in my lifetime, we'll have to wait and see. There's too many variables for me to make a decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Thoughts, Ms. Brown?
I agree. I think too that the term you use, I love, common sense. If we could restore common sense and civility, if people could, I almost witnessed a fight in Kroger's a couple of days ago over just who was in line first, between these two people. And I just thought, really, life's too short for that kind of,
Oh, yeah.
Just we need to return to civility, and even in our leaders, not just among ordinary folks, but just until that happens, as well as honesty. There has to be honesty restored. And I just feel like that's critical. The common sense, the honesty, and civility. And I come at it also from a faith perspective, so I would throw prayer in there too.
Yeah, we all kind of do, and the prayer is going to help.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, you two. My final thoughts are, we just need to put things into perspective. Like that grocery line argument, I see that every day. In some sense, just like arguing over those pointless things. I mean, I was like that at one point, and then I went to Mexico for the mission trip, and I saw the situations those people were in, and how much joy they had and how patient they were, and I've never been the same since. I think everyone, religious or not, can benefit from a mission trip. I think they're just going to a whole different attitude about the country if they do that.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Learning what's important and what's not important.
Absolutely. Zach and Miss Brown, thank you so much for coming on in this very.
Thanks for having me, man.
Well, thanks, Alex, and nice to meet you, Zach. I wish you the best in your school year.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to meet you as well.
Okay, hopefully we'll have a chance to talk again.
Sounds great.
Okay, thanks, Alex.